Woof. Okay, I'm here. That was 23 seconds shot shit, huh? I had to test my sound equipment. I didn't do it before I started the video, and I feel like shutting the video down to start it again. So, anyhow, boy, they don't connect very good, I'll tell you that. Here we go again. Hold on. Something's wrong here. Okay. Okay. I don't know what the problem is, but there's a problem, you know? I may have to start this all over again. I don't know. I'm trying not to. Right, people? Okay. Says everything's good. Okay. Anyhow, I'm gonna try and not talk too much politics today because that just gets boring, you know? It's like, I've read every Sherlock Holmes mystery book that's out there. I've forgotten more than I remember of all the books I read, except some of the original ones. You know, if it's good, I read it, and I've read it. You know, and it's one of my favorite characters in the literary world. So, you know, the others are guys that are come back from the service and go around shooting criminals. I always thought that was a good idea. You know, there are a lot of people out there that jail just doesn't seem to suit them. You know, you should really shoot them. But anyhow, I digress. I don't know if I ever talk about myself on this stuff because I don't remember everything. You know, I'm getting old. But you see, I have a dog, and I love this dog. And this dog covered me in saliva last night, and I wanted to throw her out the window, but I didn't do it. Hold on 1 minute. Hey, you. Hey, don't do that. No. Okay. Don't know. She's got something wrong with her, but we'll figure it out sooner or later, you know. Yeah, I love you, but don't do that anymore, okay? It's not good for you, and it's very bad for me. Anyhow, I have a love of animals. And animals seem to know this, you know. I've been rescuing animals since I was a little kid. Squirrel took out of a trap. Did what I could for it back then, not much. Never found out what happened to it because whenever I turned them over to my parents, I had to figure out they didn't make it, you know. But I rescued a squirrel when I was very, very young. I've had a lot of squirrel friends, you could say. I used to go to this park in Verona. It's called Verona Park. It was turning into swampland. It was just before I left because there was so many geese in the lake that they crapped all along the shoreline. It just turned it to muck. So, you know, but if you went up to the end that didn't have the lake in it, there were squirrels everywhere. Squirrels and blue jays. The squirrels would. There was one set of sidewalks that came together and merged. So you had 4 sidewalks coming together there, and if you stood there too long and looked down, there'd be this old gray squirrel with a half black nose sitting there looking up at you. That was just a friend of mine, you know, and he feed them peanuts, the whole shell and everything. They sit there. Sometimes they had trouble. Some of the squirrels down there had trouble, you know, opening up the shell, but, you know, it was fun. When I would throw them to them, the blue jays would take them out of the air. It was just fun. It was relaxed. I'll tell you, nothing relaxes you more than animals, you know. And they're the best sources of entertainment and humor, better than TV, radio, George Carlin, or anybody else. Oh, See, this is live. I yawn on the air, you know. Then I started rescuing little animals. You know, I'd find a little bird on the ground in its nest or stuff like that. You know. Uh, and then when I started fishing in the reservoir. This is now I'm old, much older, so this is, you know, a little more crazy. I made friends with the first thing I did is I made friends with a baby deer. Not real small. Not a Bambi because he had full color and he had one horn, one antler, you know. So I called him Spike. And the deal with Spike is Spike would see me coming down the trail in this this was before 9/11 because they closed it after 9/11 for a long time, and then turned it into a park, which was the worst thing they could have done to it. But anyhow, I digress. So I was coming down the trail. Loaded down with my gear, fishing and everything. And this little guy popped up out of the bushes and started dancing around. He wanted to play with me. So I would talk to him and throw things his way, and I'd leave him some corn or something, for him to eat. And we became friends, and this went on, off and on. He'd be there some days he wouldn't, as he got older. Until one day, they closed the park, the reservoir down. And I was just walking by the back of it, just getting out, taking some black and white photographs. And after it snowed, there's that kind of eerie, spooky look to those pictures, and I kind of like that, So I took the pictures and everything, and all of a sudden, here comes this massive deer. I mean, this thing is a record-setting deer. And it's Spike. And Spike comes over to the fence, puts his head over the fence, lets me scratch his head and everything like that. I mean, this deer moves his head too fast. I don't know, I'm shish kebab. But this went on a few times, And then I don't know what happened with Spike, but he got out of the reservoir. And there's a major highway just outside, right borders the reservoir. It's Route 46 in New Jersey, That's a busy highway, even though it's the older version of it. He got out and he got hit. And cops came up and shot him. And, of course, somebody took his head. It's just really, really, really upsetted me, But there's nothing I could do about it because I wasn't in a position to stop or to go help or anything like that, And he was completely panicked. There was nothing I could do to help him after he got hit by the car. So shooting him was the best thing they could have done. It's what happened afterwards that just pissed me off. And then, so after that, there was a little chipmunk that come up and would sit on a log and wait for me to give it a peanut or something like that, Now, all these animals in my life, I ran into a black bear that just kind of looked at me and said, and turned around and went the other way, because I didn't try to stop him or anything. We just kind of accidentally ran into each other. There wasn't much we could do about it. And then I had another encounter in another reservoir with a black bear. This one was standing up, and when he stood up, he was about 2 foot taller than me, standing on his hind legs, looking at me, and I had fishing rods, tackle, cameras, everything in my hands, trying to get to my car. And I could have got to my car, maybe, but I wasn't sure I was going to get there without the bear chasing me. And if he chased me, I couldn't do much of anything, and I didn't want to get trapped in the car. So I just took everything and shaked it and said, bear, 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 bear. And the thing looked at me, it actually cried and ran away like a little baby girl, But I've had a lot of encounters with animals. There was a lynx, which wasn't supposed to be in that area, that used to hang out at the reservoir and go over by the garbage cans by my house, because my house, where I lived at the time, backed up to the reservoir, the garden apartment complex. when I go over there, and I'd see this lynx, and he would sit there and talk to me, and just I didn't pet him or anything like that. He wasn't that. I didn't know whether he was that friendly or not. I didn't want to get him friendly because when people see animals that are that big, they get scared, and they call the police, and the police rather shoot them than catch them. They're just frustrated hunters, especially the cops in that town, because they would go in there and try to and fish at night just to get the fish out of the reservoir. So yeah, it's you don't pay attention to the laws. The laws are there to protect you and the animals. And one of the coolest things that ever had happened to me was I was driving down this road called Vale Road in Parsippany. And it meets Route 46, and right, almost close, same, very near to where Spike met his demise. And me and my wife were out there. We're on our way to this is about 15 years, 18. No, that's got to be closer to 20 years ago. And there's a mallard duck, female duck, and about 6 babies walking down the street, and they're stopped at the corner, and the mother jumps up on the curb, and the babies can't make the curb because the curb's about that high, and they're only about that high. So I stopped the car, which meant I stopped traffic, got out, walked around the car, went around, picked them up one at a time, put them on the sidewalk, and the mother duck came over and quacked something to. I think she was saying thank me to. She just came over and went quack 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 quack. She didn't attack me or anything like that. And that's just a great feeling. Then another time I was in the reservoir when it was open, and I kind of felt that I had made a mistake and dropped some fishing line on the ground, and I was walking back to the area where I did it, and there's a small goose, baby goose, a Canadian goose, caught up with its wrapped around its neck and everything, and I said, "Oh, here we go." Because the parents and the grandparents, I mean, there was a bunch of the big ones there, and they don't like you to do that to be around their kids. So I started walking towards the kid, and it flew up in my face, and I just smacked it on its beak, and it went down, and it stood over on the side, and I went over and I caught the little gosling that they're called, picked it up, cut the fishing line off of it, put it in my backpack this time so it wouldn't get lost again, and then the adult, whether it was the grandfather, the father, whatever it was, the adult that I had the problem with came over and just looked at me and bowed its head to me and walked away, and they both walked away. It's animals say thank you if you give them the chance, if you understand what they're saying, Down here, rescued I don't know what kind of bird it was. Because it wasn't, I'm not familiar with the types of birds down there. Small little bird. It's a type of bird I've gotten friendly with down here. They're black and they're brown and yellow and everything. And some of them get very, very big. But I'm friendly with them. I have a hawk that anytime he's in the area and he sees me, he follows me. When I say follows me, he flies to the trees that along the sidewalk that I walk. I don't know whether he's looking at Lucy for dinner or what, But animals, animals are so cool, and they understand you if you try to communicate with them. They'll understand you. They understand kindness, softness. They don't like loud things, they don't hurt you. They're not there to hurt you, and they're beneficial for the most part, But I've seen everything. Now, I even saw a vampire bat one night walking out in our car because they walk on their elbows, or I guess they're their elbows. They walk. And it's the only bat, and I found out trying to figure out what kind of bat it was that it's the only bat in the world that does it as a vampire bat, which didn't, make me want to be his friend or anything, But I was just, I see all this neat stuff. And you watch the acrobatic birds, these swallows that come. There were thousands, there was hundreds of them when I first moved here. There's only about 6 or 7 still coming around, but they fly around the apartment, and you just got to watch the acrobats. They come up and they see something, they stop, they go back the other way. It's just virtually. My headset just conked out. So. So anyhow, I could take these off because I can't hear anyhow with them. They're gone. Their battery's dead in them. I forgot to charge it. That's my life. But anyhow, it doesn't affect. Shouldn't affect the video any. Um, but there's so many different types of animals and insects down here. They have the most different types of butterflies in the world or in this country, and the most 150 something different types of hummingbirds. I think I've seen 2 different types, the color combinations. My favorite bird's a hawk that comes around, and nobody's been able to identify it or tell me what it is. And apparently, it's very difficult to photograph. Uh, but I saw it one time. It was protecting a kill in the street, and we came down and we looked at it. It spread its wings out. The back of its wings looked like an old British Spitfire. They have the target design on each side, on each wing, and they're just beautiful color brown. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like the squirrels down here. I have a group of 3 squirrels across the street right now. For some reason, they don't show. They're not around all the time. They come up. They're like seasonal, and I've never seen that before. But that's these guys. Got the little one that doesn't want to talk to me. Doesn't want anything to do with me. And we got the medium one that's about this big. And he sits in a tree across the way from us every once in a while and talks to and looks at Lucy. Just watches Lucy the whole time. And then there's the big one, and all of these are. Well, they look like our fox squirrels. They're red, beautiful, beautiful color red, like a burnt red or burnt orange, something like that. It's really, really beautiful animals. And we got possums are black and white, and they're cool. The only animal down here that I haven't seen that I'd like to see is a sloth. I've seen some you don't want to see. I have seen iguanas that are like from the tail to the head are like 10 feet long. They look like the first time I saw one of them, I thought it was one of those dragon lizards. Well, anyhow, that's it for today. No politics, huh? Anyhow, this is me, and everything will be back to normal tomorrow. So everybody, take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the morning.